This video is brought to you by Rocket Money. Today we're talking about a movie named Dream Scenario. It came out in 2023 and it stars our boy, Nick Cage.
Nick Cage!
When this movie got announced, I was so excited for it. Not just because it's produced by A24, a company that has produced a bunch of films that I adore, but also because the trailer made the movie look so intriguing. It has such an interesting premise.
You keep popping up in my dreams. You don't do anything, you're just there.
If you have no idea what this movie's about, basically everybody around the world starts dreaming about Nicolas Cage, and they don't know why. So basically everybody just turns into me. A couple weeks. It was written and directed by a guy named Christopher Borgley. He's the same guy behind a movie named Sick of Myself, which came out in 2022, and I quite like that movie, so I went into this one with high hopes. In this movie, Nick Cage plays a fabulously bald teacher named Paul Matthews. It's such a basic, boring name.
Paul.
It fits his character perfectly.
Well, I'm gonna get straight to the point.
The movie starts with a low, rumbling bass tone, and no joke, it shook my TV stand and my TV. Maybe I had the volume too high or something.
Fuck that.
But it honestly enhanced the movie, because tonally it prepares you for something weird, right? But when the first scene opens up, at first it's pretty mundane. What you don't know is that this is a dream sequence, but the movie doesn't make it immediately clear that it's a dream. That is until things start falling from the sky, and then this girl starts floating, and Paul watches this happen as if it's something that happens every day.
It's okay, sweetie.
This is Paul's daughter's dream. I want to add that this movie is kind of ugly. I'm not sure what was going on with the color grading, but it looks off.
Brother,
Like the contrast or the brightness is a little too low or something. I'm not an expert, obviously.
I think I deserve a little appreciation.
But to me, it just looked bad. And there are some scenes throughout the movie that are lit terribly. And it doesn't seem like they're done in an artistic way. It just seems like it was lit bad. At first, I thought this was done on purpose to give the viewer this feeling of being in a dream, where things appear real, but there's clearly something off about your surroundings, even before anything weird happens. But then this color grading just continues into the waking world. Like, the rest of the movie looks the exact same. Was the entire thing meant to be a dream? Oh my god, the plot thickens.
Very dramatic answer. How's that supposed to work?
Nick's character, Paul, is a family man in this movie. He's a socially awkward professor at a college. Right away, the strangers in Paul's day-to-day life act strange around him. A hostess at a restaurant swears she knows him from somewhere.
I'm sorry, don't I know you?
But she doesn't know exactly where or how, but she can't place it. He has lunch with a former friend from grad school named Sheila. It's been 30 years since they went to school together.
I mean, it's been a while, so.
And apparently back then, Paul was super interested in ants.
Are you using intelligence? You know I coined that, right?
And this interest carries on to current day, but he's never done anything with it.
Difference between talking about an idea and actually doing all the work.
He's an evolutionary biologist and he wants to write a book desperately. He loves ants. Ants are like his jam, you know?
Oh, my eyes! My eyes!
But he just never did anything with this interest. What?
Well, I haven't really started the actual sitting down and writing.
It's so weird. It makes no sense. I mean, maybe he was caught up with his job and his kids, but he must have a hobby. Why didn't he make his hobby writing a book about ants if he loves ants so much? Make time to do it, you know? Anyway, for some reason he didn't. But this woman he knows named Sheila, apparently she borrowed some of his ideas.
Sounds awfully similar to my research now.
And she did the work that Paul wanted to do, but never did for some reason. So she's about to publish a book or an article about it or something. Paul pries her for information about it. He asks her to give him credit.
Why am I not being credited?
Because they talked about it in college 30 years ago. That's normal.
Do you mean from grad school?
Yes, you weren't even interested in networks back then.
He even recorded their conversation. Did he ask her to go to lunch just so he could confront her about this? It's so weird. He listens back to their conversation in the car and he gets all angry at himself. He's a very strange and insecure guy. Later, Paul and his wife have a run-in with one of Paul's exes from long ago.
Paul!
She tells Paul that she's been thinking about him a lot, but she doesn't say exactly why why she's thinking of him right away, which is very strange behavior, right? She walks up to him in front of his wife and she's like,
"You know what? I've been thinking about you a lot lately. We should get coffee sometime."
Paul's response is pretty funny though. "I don't think of you at all."
I haven't thought about you in a while.
She then finally elaborates that he's been popping up in her dreams a lot, and in these dreams he's just standing there as horrific stuff is happening. She then asks him out on a coffee date, and then they exchange numbers. All of this is done in front of his wife. It's so strange and inappropriate, and I know that they're adults, but still, like what? She's his ex-girlfriend. So this is just wildly weird. If one of my exes came up to me in front of my wife and she was like, "I've been dreaming about you every night. We should get coffee sometime. Let's exchange numbers." Yeah, that's cool. Obviously, that would be really weird, right? If you desperately have to say something to this guy, try sending an email first. I know she saw him in public. It's just weird. The actual coffee date they go on is also extremely awkward. She basically just asks him if she can write about her dreams of him in her blog.
You want to write about me?
No, I want to write about the dreams.
He agrees, and then he almost seems disappointed that she doesn't want to get with him. He says something like, "Oh, I thought you had ulterior motives, you know, bringing me to coffee. I hope that's not the case."
Ulterior motives.
They laugh about it awkwardly, and then she leaves. He turns to say something to her, but it doesn't come out right. It's so awkward.
Of course not.
So obviously Paul isn't the most likable guy in the world. We're then shown a dinner party. Some of these people are Paul's acquaintances, and they talk amongst each other about these strange dreams that they're having, and they all seem to include Paul.
This guy that we sort of know, this old friend of Richard's, Paul.
Paul gets a phone call from Richard, the guy who hosts these parties, and he tells Paul that everybody's dreaming about him. Paul then passes out because, yeah, this is really weird.
Paul?
He logs onto Facebook and finds that he has hundreds of DMs from people who claim they've been dreaming of him. He agrees to an interview and then appears on the news. He goes to work, and when he enters the classroom, he's greeted with applause. Of course, many of his students have been dreaming of him as well. Paul asks them what the content of their dreams are, and all of them share a common theme. Something terrible is happening, and he is just there, observing. Doing nothing. Some of these dreams are pretty hilarious. One of them shows a girl on a piano, and she's being approached by two crocodiles. Paul enters and then immediately leaves. There's another one where an extreme hurricane is bringing a school down, and Paul walks in nonchalantly, like he's looking for the bathroom. Later, he takes selfies with all the students. He's pretty famous. Wow, that's so epic. Paul's house is then broken into by a random man in the middle of the night who claims he has to kill him. This part in particular is pretty funny because something like this actually happened to Nick Cage in real life. Someone broke into his house and started eating a fudgicle right in front of him. I think he put on one of Nicolas Cage's leather jackets as well or something. Nick Cage woke up and he was like, "What the fuck? Get out!" The next day, they're told that this man has a history of mental illness and that they should consider implementing a variety of security methods to their home. Oh yeah, Michael Cera is in this movie too.
Dicks? Like a man dick?
He plays this guy named Trent, who's the CEO of a talent agency named Thoughts. Yeah, it's named Thoughts with a question mark. Thoughts? It's a pretty weird name, but at least it made for a cool shot of Paul sitting in front of a digital sign. Of course, this company just wants to leverage Paul's newfound fame for profit. But Paul is completely new to all of this. He tells them that he wants to write a book, and they tell him that they could easily sell his life rights for a book or a movie, and also get him in a Sprite commercial.
I've been meaning to write a book.
Here's somewhere cool that we thought might be a good place to start. Sprite.
It's so funny. I love how it's specifically Sprite.
I'll be damned if I didn't get
Sprite, motherfucker!
It's such a random drink. Of course, Paul hates this idea and decides against it.
I actually don't want this whole phenomenon to be.
But it would be so funny if they actually went through with this idea, which is kind of disappointing because I would have loved a scene of them playing this Sprite commercial with Paul Matthews, this random teacher. Whenever you dream, you're gonna dream about Paul Matthews holding a Sprite as this crocodile's trying to kill you. This agency's plan is to try and manipulate people's dreams so that when they dream of Paul, they also dream of Sprite. I'm not joking. Wow. I'm sure that will work. What's even funnier is that Sprite probably paid to be in this movie. Paul is adamant about trying to launch his career as an evolutionary biologist, not a Sprite dream man. Trent asks him to list off names in his space that they might be able to use as a launch board. Paul names off random evolutionary biologists that he likes, one of which is Herman Tig.
Herman Tig, maybe.
He's asked to repeat the name and he just yells it.
Herman Tig?
Herman Tig! One of the women in the room suggests that they make Obama dream about him.
To make Obama dream about you.
Obama. Paul Matthews pops up in his dream and Trump is there and he's just repeating Obama. And then Paul Matthews holds up a Sprite and then Obama says soda. And how the hell could they force Obama to dream about him? They then promise Paul that they can make this book happen for him. They keep saying that his book is about plants. They keep repeating that over and over. Your book about plants?
Plants.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll make your book about plants.
With your plant book.
And then Nick goes, ants!
It's about ants?
And they're like, oh yeah, ants.
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 Oh.
All this is so funny. He's obsessed with ants and he wants to write a book so desperately. He's been wanting to write this for 30 years and he hasn't even started it yet. I would say that's relatable, but every single project I've wanted to make, I've at least started it. You know? How can you let an idea linger in your head for that long and not do anything with it? Doesn't the creative process normally go like this? All right, I have a sick idea. Let's start it. And you're super excited about it. And you start working on it. Maybe you work on it for a couple weeks. And then you get kind of bored. You stop working on it for a couple days. And then you get another idea. And it kind of replaces your old idea. That's how it normally works, right? Whatever. What do I know? Paul goes on a date with one of the women who works at Thoughts? What is up with this guy? He's so weird. In the elevator, she's like, hey, you can ask me to go out for a drink if you want.
If you want to get a drink, just let me know.
And I guess he said, sure, you look like you're 17. But that's cool by me. This girl is named Molly, and she has a sexual fascination with him because of a repetitive sex dream she has about him. Paul throws himself at any woman who shows a tiny bit of interest in him, despite their age or his marriage. And you know what? I wish this wasn't realistic because there's countless guys out there that do this exact thing.
I want to see your boobs.
So Molly describes the dream to Paul, and it's super creepy.
We
Really?
It's basically just a fantasy. He appears from a dark corner and approaches her without saying a word. He sits next to her and then licks her ear. He grabs her crotch and they start making out and it's so uncomfortable. Like even the fact that they did this as actors is weird as hell. I don't know, it's just the age gap. It gives me the ick. Okay, I'm sure it's fine, right? Like 2 consenting adults, whatever. Oh my God, Nick Cage's creepy ass tongue. It looks like Jabba the Hutt's tongue. So she invites him back to her place and she wants to reenact this dream with him. And this scene is hands down the funniest scene in the entire movie. Of course, the real Paul is super awkward and insecure. She wants this moment to feel as authentic to her dream as possible. So she instructs him on what to do to make this happen. She has him stand against a wall where his dream counterpart would start from. It's kind of funny. He's like smushing himself against the back of the wall. He's like this. He approaches her awkwardly and then sits down next to her. She starts kissing him and then he farts. It's so good.
Oh.
She undoes his belt and then he comes in his pants. And then he farts a second time. Oh my God, it's so good. He sits there mortified with cum in his pants. And she's like, did you just come? It's so unbearably uncomfortable. I laughed my ass off for like 10 minutes when I first saw this scene. Obviously, he gets up and leaves immediately. In the next scene, Paul's daughter has a nightmare about him. He turns a corner with a really scary face on, and he stomps toward her with this super exaggerated, almost cartoonish walk. Not gonna lie, I thought this scene was scary. I'm sure in reality, when they were filming it, it was probably hilarious. But everything combined makes it really frightening. The camera angle, the way he's walking, the way he looks, the sound effects, the sound they gave his stomping. It's surprisingly unnerving when it should be hilarious, you know? We're then shown some nightmares from his students, where he murders them in different ways. At school the next day, the students don't show up to class because they fear him.
Where is everyone?
That night at a scheduled dinner party, Paul and his wife Janet arrive to find that nobody else showed up, except for the people who are hosting the party, Richard and his wife. This is unusual because normally they would have a large dinner party with a bunch of people. Richard's wife is silent and noticeably upset. We get a flash of a nightmare she had of Paul strangling her with a wire. Nick's face in this dream is so funny. Check out that Cheshire Cat smile. Literal Joker. She excuses herself from the table. Richard then confesses to them that she has had some terrible nightmares about him.
She's had some pretty brutal nightmares.
The following day, the school practices an exposure exercise with the students who have had nightmares of Paul. He enters the room from the back of the gymnasium, and he slowly approaches the group. Upon saying one word,
So,
all of the students storm out of the room. And then an unknown student paints the word loser on his SUV. Not gonna lie, the color of the word loser on his car, it kind of has this cool aesthetic to it. Like they picked the right color. So yeah, Paul's life isn't the best right now. Thousands of people across the world, even his own daughter, are experiencing horrific dreams of him torturing or them. His previous deal with thoughts has tanked, so they have to re-strategize. They tell him that he should go on Joe Rogan's podcast.
We could maybe get you on Rogan.
Or talk to, I don't know, Jordan Peterson.
Kind of the Jordan Peterson route.
Or Tucker Carlson.
There's a chance, we think, to get you on Tucker Carlson.
He's got a new fan base now. The alt-right loves him. They literally say alt-right.
The whole, I don't want to say alt-right.
Apparently the people of France also love him.
France, Paul. For some reason, they love you.
They even dig the nightmares. You know what? Kind of tracks. The French people, they're a little odd. They probably just enjoy surrendering to him in all of their dreams. Paul goes to a restaurant and he's asked to leave because he's making some of the people there uncomfortable. He tells them he's not leaving.
well, I'm staying.
He's then confronted and it ends with Paul getting his ass kicked. The next day, Paul goes for a run and he gets shot with an arrow. He's chased by a man who shoots him again. This guy's carrying a crossbow, and he turns out to be Paul. So Paul is shooting himself with a crossbow. He then gets shot in the neck. And then we watch him watch himself choke on his own blood in a theater. It's such a cool scene. Obviously, this is Paul's nightmare. So even Paul is having a nightmare of himself killing himself. Is it a paradox or I don't know. It's a little weird, but I love it. He then records a blubbering apology and then posts it online.
Am I not the biggest victim?
Obviously, it goes viral. His daughter's reaction while watching it the next morning is priceless.
I'm actually gonna have to kill myself.
Paul is then kicked out of his own house and forced to live in his boss's basement. He attends his daughter's play at school despite being told not to. He's instantly recognized, but he keeps saying that he's not Paul Matthews. They're like, hey, are you Paul Matthews? He's like, no. He's got the most recognizable face on earth, but no, not him.
Paul Matthews?
No.
Paul tries to force his way in to watch his daughter's play, and by doing so, a teacher gets her hand caught in the door. Her hand's a bloody mess, which isn't very believable, I don't think. If you're Paul in this situation, what would you do? You've just injured a teacher and you're not supposed to be here. Do you A, make a scene, run into the theater, and exclaim to the crowd that it wasn't you. You didn't mean to do anything. You're just here to see your daughter. Or B, leave and accept the fact that you can't watch your daughter's play. Or C, drop your pants and take a shit in this theater. It was A. I just wanted to make you guys think he took a shit in the theater. The teacher starts screaming that he attacked her. Paul tries to exclaim his innocence. He's jumped by a bunch of people. It's a big mess. And then the movie kind of goes off the rails a little bit. We get a picture of Paul in the middle of the screen, followed by a narration, telling us that the nightmares of Paul suddenly vanished after this play. The third act of this movie is a little tacked on. Basically, the Paul Matthews dream scenario proved to people that a collective subconscious exists. And so, by some miracle, this random tech bro, Greg from Succession, found a way to tap into that collective subconscious with a device called the Norio. It's like this watch-looking thing that you use to visit other people's dreams, but they also want to monetize these dreams. So they give a bunch of influencers these same watches so they can sell stuff to people in their dreams. And they call themselves like dreamfluencers or something stupid like that.
Dreamfluencers.
I don't know who would buy this product. Visiting someone else's dream would be kind of intrusive. Who knows what's happening in their dream, you know what I mean? Like, what if you're married? Imagine how many couples this Norio thing would destroy due to the off chance of someone having a sex dream with someone else that isn't their, you know, significant other. Imagine walking in on your wife cheating on you in her dream with someone else when she has no control over her dream.
Yeah.
my god, he's gonna be so surprised. I'm just sliding on into his dream. I wonder what he's doing. Oh god. Fucking kidding me?
Whoa, hey!
You're cheating on me in your dream.
I can explain.
What even is that thing?
Oh my god, my pussy is
A
out.
tomato with legs?
It's a strawberry!
You want to dream about fucking a tomato?
It's not a big deal, it's a fruit.
I'm getting papers ready, and you're signing them as soon as you wake up.
Come on, baby, just give me a break.
And don't even think about buying any strawberries or tomatoes in the supermarket anymore, you freak!
It's kind of messed up, right? I don't think anybody would take that chance. Maybe a very select few people would want this type of thing, but I don't think it would sell well at all. Definitely not well enough to advertise to people with them.
The Norio allows you to visit anyone in their dreams.
Like, you're already taking a risk using these things. Why would you want to make them worse with advertising? We learn that Paul and his wife got a divorce, and Paul is moving into a different house. We also learn that Paul actually did write a book, surprising as hell, I know, but it wasn't the book about ants that he wanted to write. It was about his experience being the dream guy, and he named it Dream Scenario.
It was supposed to be Dream Scenario.
Oh yeah, and he's very popular in France. A lot of his readers are in France. The next part is a literal nightmare. We're in Paul's dream, and he's being sold shoes and supplements. He's wearing the Norio in an attempt to visit his wife's dream, but he isn't really sure how to do that. I guess the Norio didn't come with a manual, so he has to look up YouTube videos that tell him how to do it. Paul has a photo shoot in France, and he's told to wear this Freddy Krueger looking gauntlet thing with blades on it because people refer to him as the real life Freddy Krueger.
They call you Freddy Krueger?
I guess whoever was in charge of his publishing in France changed his book significantly. When Paul finally sees his book in person, it's much thinner than he thought it would be, telling us that they removed a bunch of his content, and they renamed it from Dream Scenario to I Am Your Nightmare. And he begrudgingly accepts this because he has no choice.
This is fine.
While signing books, he's then hit in the face by a light that falls from the ceiling. Just to add insult to injury, I suppose. We then see Paul in his hotel room, forcing himself to watch horror movies to try and connect with his demographic, but he clearly doesn't like the movies he's watching. He eventually learns how to use the Norio, and he enters his wife's dream. This time, he saves her from being burnt alive, and they dance together. He does this all while wearing a ridiculously wide suit. He says, "I wish this were real."
I wish this was real.
Before floating away, and the movie ends. It's kind of cute because throughout the movie, people are dreaming of him and horrific stuff is happening, and he wishes that he could do something about this, but they always just dream of him doing nothing and watching it happen. So finally, he gets to intervene in the dream because he has control. Kind of a cute ending, but at the same time, I don't know if his wife was wearing a Norio. Maybe she was. But if she wasn't, does this mean that you can just enter anybody's dream you want, regardless of the fact that they want you there? That's creepy as fuck. Imagine how many OnlyFans girls would have all these like creepy people in their dreams, or even just female streamers in general. Their lives would be a living nightmare, even more so than they are right now, if these things actually existed. It might catch on with some freaks, but it would quickly die out, I think. And dreamfluencers sound like the most annoying thing imaginable. I'm suffering from ads in the waking world. If I end up suffering from ads in my dreams, I'll put a bullet in my skull. Thank you so much to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. You ever have that moment where you find out that you've been paying for something monthly that you forgot that you were paying for? I have. You go onto your bank account and then you find a charge for something and you're not really sure what it is, and then you find out that you've been paying for it monthly. So you do some digging and then you find out what it is and you're like, God damn it, I spent like $400 on this stupid thing and I didn't know I was spending the money this whole time. Apparently I was paying monthly for AMC. Did you know that AMC is a subscription service?
The most basic package is $659 a month.
That's cool. Apparently, I was an idiot and I subscribed to it to review a video a long time ago, and I completely forgot that I did that. You know, it was one of those like 3-month free things, and then it just kept going and I forgot about it. That was until I downloaded Rocket Money, and it gave me a breakdown of all my subscriptions, and I was like, oh, unsubscribe? The best part about Rocket Money is that they make it super simple. You can use the app to unsubscribe from things that you don't want to pay for anymore. It's also a really great way to see a breakdown of all your expenses. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. It helps you achieve financial freedom. I know they're sponsoring this video, but I highly recommend it. You can even use it to lower your bills. You can upload a photo of your bill, tap a few buttons, and Rocket Money will negotiate your bills for you. From your internet service to your phone bill, whatever you want. You can set up smart savings by using it. You can choose the amount and the frequency that you want to save, and Rocket Money will automatically deposit savings into your smart savings account, and you can withdraw these funds anytime. You can even set budgets using the app. You can automatically monitor your spending habits and get notifications when you've exceeded your limit. So if any of these things interest you, then get Rocket Money today. You can try a free trial by clicking the link in the description. Take control of your finances today. Go to rocketmoney.com/ElvisTheAlien to take control of your financial future. That's rocketmoney.com/ElvisTheAlien, or click the link in the description. Thank you so much to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video. I very much appreciate it. Now back to the video. Everybody has to suffer from ads in the waking world. Thank you for watching my sponsors. I appreciate it. But imagine suffering from ads in your dreams too? Man, life just wouldn't be worth it at that point. Imagine if I showed up in your dreams. Buy alien clothing now. You can get this hat or this shirt. Aren't you glad you're wearing this Norio right now? So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Let me know what you'd like me to review next in the comment section down below. Thank you so much to all my patrons that make videos like this possible. I really appreciate that you guys support me. If you want to join them and scroll up the screen at the end of my videos, just go to patreon.com/ElvisTheAlien, and I'll see you guys in the next video.